You ever been out on an open road late at night with nothing but rain on the windshield and a half-empty thermos in the cup holder? That's how this story starts. Now, Bobby Mack, young guy, maybe mid-30s, full of diesel and dreams, he'd just landed a solo run from New Orleans to Shreveport. Nothing fancy. Few pallets of gear supposed to drop off before dawn. His first long-haul run without a partner. Proud as hell about it. It was one of those Louisiana nights where the air's thick, the bugs thud against the windshield like they're trying to hitch a ride and the rain don't fall, it pounds. Bobby was somewhere outside Alexandria. Lights dim, road empty, music low. He was humming along, singing to himself when he saw her, just off the shoulder, barefoot, drenched, standing dead still in the rain, looked maybe 20, soaked straight through, hair hanging in front of her face like one of them horror movie. Girls. Blood smeared across her dress, though Bobby wasn't sure if it was real or just mud in bad light. And here's the thing. She was waving. Slow. Like she was underwater. Bobby hit the brakes before his brain caught up to his foot. Truck hissed to a stop. His gut said, "Keep driving," but his conscience said, "What if she's hurt?" He opened the door. "Hey, you all right? You need help?" She didn't say anything at first, just looked up at him. Water dripping off. Her nose, lips trembling like she'd been out there all night. Then she nodded, slow, almost too slow. "I just need to get home," she said. That was it. No name. No thank you, just that. Bobby ain't no heartless guy. He grabbed a towel from behind the seat, helped her into the cab. She sat there shivering, but didn't say another word. He offered her the towel. She didn't take it. Off they went. Back on the highway, rain tapping like fingernails on the roof. Now here's where it starts getting weird. They'd only been driving maybe 10 minutes when she looked up and said, "You passed it." Bobby blinked. "What's that?" "My turn, you passed it." He looked out at the empty woods rolling by, nothing but black trees and flickers of lightning. "There ain't been no turns for miles," he said. She just stared ahead. Didn't speak again. Didn't blink. That silence sat heavy in the cab like a third person riding with them. Bobby cranked the heat. Tried some small talk. Asked where she lived. No answer. Just that pale face and her wet dress dripping onto the vinyl seat. He glanced over. Seat was empty. No girl. The door hadn't opened. The damn seatbelt was still buckled. "What the hell?" he muttered, pulling. Off to the side, heart banging in his chest, he looked around, half expecting her to pop up from the floor like a prank, but she was gone. He rubbed his face, sat back, and that's when he saw it, a handprint. On the inside of the windshield, small, wet, like someone touched the glass from the inside with freezing fingers. He drove. Didn't stop till he found a diner off Route 74. It was one of those places that looked like it hadn't changed since the 60s, neon buzzing. Old songs humming from a jukebox, smelled like burnt coffee and ghost stories. He sat at the counter. Ordered pie and black coffee, mostly to stop his hands from shaking. Old waitress came by, gave him a once-over. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Bobby told her what happened. Figured maybe she'd laugh it off. She didn't. She went. Real still, real quiet. Then she leaned in close and said, "You saw her?" "Who?" Bobby asked. "The girl in the ditch." "You ever had somebody tell you something that made the whole world go quiet? Like the sound got sucked out of the room? That's what it felt like when the old diner waitress said it." "You saw her," she told Bobby. He blinked, halfway through. A bite of apple pie. The kind that sticks to your teeth and makes you feel warm, even in the middle of a thunderstorm. "I don't know what I saw," Bobby muttered, wiping his hands on a paper napkin. "She was just there, then gone." The waitress nodded slow, her eyes never leaving his face. "That's what they all say, just like that. Soaking wet, scared looking. Then she disappears, leaves nothing but water on the seat." Bobby looked down at his jeans, still damp. Thought of the handprint on the inside of his windshield. Small, wet, real. The waitress leaned in closer, her voice low like she didn't want the other late-night regulars to hear. "They call her Jenny," she said. "Jenny Lee Thornton." The name hung in the air like the smell of old grease and burnt toast. "Prom queen," the waitress added. "Class of '83, pretty girl, popular." Bobby raised an eyebrow. "Wait, you talking about a real person?" "Oh." "She was real," the waitress said, pouring him another cup of black coffee. "Still is if you believe in that kind of thing. She told the story slow, like she'd told it before but didn't like to. Back in 1983, on prom night, Jenny Lee had a fight with her boyfriend, big one. Some said he'd been drinking. Others said she caught him kissing another girl behind the gym. Jenny left the dance crying, ran out into the rain in her dress and heels. No coat, no umbrella, just disappeared into the night. They found her car the next morning in a ditch, off a back road miles from town. Driver's side door hanging open, one high heel lying in the mud. Blood on the window, no Jenny. Police searched for weeks. Drones, dogs, helicopters. Not a single trace. Then, stories started floating around the truck stops and diners. Quiet at first. A girl on the side of the road, prom dress, soaked to the bone, just standing there, waiting, thumb out, waving slow. Truckers picked her up, trying to help. They said she didn't talk much, just sat real still, said the same thing. I just need to get home. Bobby stared into his coffee like maybe the answer was floating in the steam. He wanted to say she was crazy, that ghosts weren't real, that he'd been tired, seeing things, but the water stain on his passenger seat said different. I picked her up, he said softly. Helped her into the cab. She was shaking, soaking, wouldn't take a towel. The waitress just nodded. That's how it goes. Every time. There was a long silence between them. Outside, the rain kept falling, tapping on the diner windows like it had something to say. You said she disappears? Bobby asked. Every time, she said. Always after she says you missed her turn. Bobby's hand froze halfway to his cup. She did say that. Told me I passed it. I didn't see no damn turn. The waitress leaned in again, real close. This time. You want to know something else? He nodded. She's not just trying to get home. The waitress looked out the window, her voice low and grave. She's stuck. And sometimes she pulls folks in with her. Bobby left the diner with that weight in his gut. That twisty, sick kind of feeling you get when something ain't right. But you can't leave it alone. He wasn't going to sleep anyway, so he climbed back into his truck and headed out, drove back toward the same stretch of road. The one where he saw her. Didn't know what he was going to do, just needed to see. The highway was dead quiet. Rain slapping the windshield like it was mad. The trees along the road leaned in like they were listening. And then, there she was. Again, same place, same dress, same slow, sad wave. Except this time her head turned toward him just a little. Not all the way. Just enough to let him know she saw him. He didn't stop, just stared into the mirror as she faded back into the dark. 10 seconds passed. Then the CB crackled. He hadn't even turned it on. Through the static, a whisper. You passed it again. His heart slammed against his ribs. He hit the brakes hard, tires skidding on the wet pavement. His headlights caught movement in the trees. Just a flash. White fabric. Like someone walking between the trunks. She wasn't on the road anymore. She was in the woods and she was pointing. Bobby wasn't a man known for bad decisions, but something in him moved. Some strange pull, like gravity in his gut. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped out into the rain, followed her signal, slid through mud. Branches tore at his jacket. Bugs buzzed like they were nervous too. After maybe 50 yards, he saw it. An old rusted-out Chevy Malibu, half buried in the swampy ground, vines growing over the roof. One headlight still intact, glass fogged with age. He stepped closer. That's when he saw the name on a laminated high school ID lying on the dashboard, half covered in moss, Jenny Lee Thornton. Class of '83. Bobby backed up, breath coming short. That's when he heard crying. Not the kind that makes you feel sorry, the kind that freezes you. And when he turned, she was there. Not soaked this time. Not pale. She looked normal. Like a scared kid. Prom dress dirty, but she was standing there barefoot, arms wrapped around herself, tears running down her face. I never got home, she whispered. I tried, but I couldn't. Bobby stepped back. You're real. I think I still am, maybe, I don't know. She looked at him and her face changed. Like something behind her eyes took over. Her mouth opened too wide, unnatural, and let out a sound that wasn't a scream. It was grief. A scream pulled from the bottom of a grave. Bobby ran. Branches tore at his skin. Mud grabbed his boots. The rain got harder. He dove into the truck, slammed the door, locked it. His fingers trembled as he turned the key. Nothing, just dead silence. Then the CB kicked in again, loud and clear. "You passed it again. Again. Again." His flashlight flickered, then died. The lights in the cab blinked. For a split second he saw her face reflected in the window beside him, but she was inside, behind him. That's the part where Bobby Mack realized something real important. She wasn't just lost, she was lonely, and lonely ghosts don't want help, they want company. All right, buckle up. Here comes the next stretch of dark road. The thing about ghosts, real ones, they don't follow rules, not gravity, not time, not death. And Bobby Mack was about to learn that some stretches of road don't go anywhere. They just circle back to where you broke. He sat there in the cab, knuckles white on the wheel, engine dead, heart hammering like a jackhammer in a coffin. Behind him, the reflection was gone. No Jenny, just empty space in the back of the sleeper. He dared to breathe, then turned the key again. Click, click. Whine. The engine coughed and sputtered like it was choking on mud. When the dash lights finally flickered on, the clock blinked. 12:09 a.m., same time as before. Weird thing was, he'd been at the diner for over an hour. He checked his phone. 9 a.m., checked his watch. Pin 29. The storm was still hammering the roof, but the world outside looked quieter now. Wrong quiet. Like something had sucked all the normal out of the night. He grabbed the wheel, cursed under his breath, and threw the truck in reverse. Needed to get back to town. Back to anywhere but here. But when he turned back onto the highway, he passed the same damn spot again, same crooked pine, same mile marker, same soggy prom queen standing in the dark, Jenny Lee Thornton, thumb out, dress clinging. Only this time. She wasn't looking at him. She was looking down the road, like she was waiting on someone else. Bobby slammed the brakes, engine rumbling under his seat. He got out, eyes scanning the road. Nothing. When he turned to where she'd been gone, not even footprints this time, but the air was colder now, wet in a way that crawled inside your bones. He climbed back into the truck and drove. Hard. Didn't matter where. Just away. Trees blurred past. Rain turned to sleet. Wind howling now, like it was laughing at him. He passed a sign. Mile marker 212. His blood froze. That couldn't be. That marker didn't exist. No one ever logged it. Not on any map. Not on any GPS. But there it was, gleaming like polished bone in the dark. He hit the gas. Mile marker disappeared in the mirror. But 10 minutes later, there it was again. Same crooked sign, same twisted number. The key. CB buzzed alive again. This time the voice was soft, tired, familiar. "I just need to get home." He grabbed the receiver, fingers shaking. "Who is this?" No answer, just static. Then the voice again, clearer now. "You passed it again. I can't find the road, it keeps moving." That's when he realized. It wasn't just Jenny caught in the loop. He was in it too, stuck. He pulled off at the next turn, some back road barely wide enough for a rig. Drove until the trees crowded in so tight they scratched the mirrors. Fog rolled in like a living thing, and then the engine died. Again, only this time, everything else died with it. Lights, CB, phone, even the rain seemed to pause like the storm was holding its breath. The silence was broken by a single knock. Tap, tap, tap on the passenger window. He turned, real slow. There she was. So close. Her breath fogged the glass. Her lips moved. He couldn't hear her, but he didn't have to. He knew what she was saying. "You missed my turn." He didn't move, didn't breathe. Just stared as she laid her palm against the glass. Water bloomed around it, like her touch was melting through. Then, crack, a line split the windshield. Then another, and another, till the whole thing spiderwebbed, like a frozen lake under too much weight. Bobby threw himself across the cab, shoved open the door and ran into the trees. Branches lashed at him. Mud sucked his boots down. The woods were alive now, whispers everywhere, some crying, some laughing, some calling his name. And then he saw them, dozens of them, others, truckers, hikers, kids, all of them out there in the trees, pale, soaked. lost, some stuck halfway into the trunks, others sitting on the ground like they were waiting on buses that had never come, all of them whispering, all of them stuck on the loop. He turned, tried to run back to his truck, but it was gone. Just trees now, thick and ancient, no road, no tracks. Only thing in front of him was a girl, Jenny, looking scared again, normal again. "Please," she said, "help me get home." He didn't know why, but this time he reached out, took her hand. Cold, so cold. She led him through the trees back toward where the truck should have been, but instead there was a road, faded, overgrown, like no one had used it in 40 years. Jenny pointed. "There. That's where I was supposed to turn. That's where it ends." Bobby stared down the road. It was dark. Too dark and long, like it went on forever. She looked up at him. "You can go, but you gotta go with me." That's when he understood. This wasn't about her finding home. It was about never being alone again. She'd found her way out of the loop, but only if someone else took her place. He stepped back. "No," he said. "I ain't done driving, not yet." Jenny's face crumpled, not angry, just sad, like she'd really believed this time would be different, and then, just like that, she was gone. The road vanished, the trees cleared. Bobby was back in his truck, engine running, CB silent radio playing some old country tune. He looked down at the dash. 10 a.m. finally moved. He hit the gas. Drove until dawn. Didn't look back once, didn't tell anyone for a long time either. But every year on the same night when the rain rolls in and the CB starts buzzing on its own, he hears her voice, soft, small. "I just need to get home." There's a stretch of I-70 in eastern Colorado where the land flattens out and the sky feels too big, too open, like the world forgot to put something there. And if you drive long enough through that, nothing, you'll find a booth, not a gas station, not a way station, just a small wooden shack like something from an old-time carnival. No lights, no signs, just a man sitting inside wearing a cap low over his eyes, with a rusted metal sign above him that reads, "Toll for safe passage, one memory or one passenger." You ignore it, of course. Who wouldn't? Looks fake, some local prank. But folks who don't stop, well, most of them don't show up again, and the ones who do, they ain't quite the same. It was 2 weeks after Bobby Mack's run-in with Jenny when this next story hit the airwaves. Some late-night CB chatter between rigs, scratchy and strange, a voice saying they were stuck, not in traffic, not in mud, in something else. That voice belonged to Deborah Highball. Hastings, old-school hauler, tough as nails, drove her Pete like it was part of her soul. She was heading west out of Kansas, hauling a load of farm equipment. Big money job. Weather was clear, roads were empty. But somewhere near the Colorado border, her GPS glitched out. The screen just froze, then rebooted, then froze again on a blank map with one word in the middle. Pay. Deborah laughed, thought it was a bug. But the miles kept ticking by and the gas gauge didn't move. She passed the same cottonwood tree 3 times, same bent fence, same dead coyote by the shoulder. It was a loop, but not like Bobby's loop. This one was tighter, hungrier, and it was pulling her in. Then she saw it, the booth, no lights, no markings, just sitting there like it had always been, as if the road had built itself around it. She slowed, confused, pulled up beside it. The man inside didn't move, didn't look up, just raised a hand and pointed to a clipboard hanging from a nail. She leaned out her window, squinting. On the clipboard was a form, no pen, just one line. Choose. One memory or one passenger. And below it, 2 buttons. Red for memory, black for passenger. She laughed again, nervous this time, rolled up her window, threw the rig in gear. She wasn't going to play this game. But when she tried to drive off, the world around her stopped moving. No wind, no sound, the sky didn't even twitch, and her truck, it wouldn't budge, pedal to the floor, engine revving, tires digging in. But nothing. Then her mirrors filled with fog, not rain, just thick silver fog that came from inside the cab, and in the rear view, someone was sitting in her sleeper. Didn't see their face, just a dark shape, motionless, too tall to be a kid, too still to be human. She turned, heart pounding, But the bunk was empty, still smelled like flowers and wet hair. The radio snapped on, old jazz song playing real scratchy. I'll Be Seeing You by Billie Holiday, a song her mama used to play on the record player while cooking Sunday breakfast. Deborah froze. A tear slipped down her cheek. She hadn't heard that song in 30 years. She hadn't thought about her mama in almost as long. Then the man in the booth knocked on her door. Not hard. Just once. She looked out. He was still faceless under that hat, but he held up one thing, a memory, hers, a photograph, of her and her mama on the porch. Deborah couldn't remember taking it, but somehow she knew it was real. If she pressed the red button, that moment would be gone forever. She wouldn't know it happened, wouldn't remember her mama's laugh, wouldn't remember why she ever got into trucking. If she pressed the black button, the fog would leave. But someone else would take her place, someone who was already watching, already riding. She pressed red, hard, didn't hesitate. The memory vanished, right then and there. She said later it was like a door slammed shut in her head. She drove for miles afterward. Truck worked fine, fog cleared, sky moved again. But she never remembered her mama's name again. Not her face, not her voice, just the song. Billie's voice drifting in on static sometimes, and the next week, that same toll booth showed up again, this time in Nebraska. Another driver saw it, same man, same choices, and not everyone picked the memory. Some gave up passengers, strangers, hitchhikers, even pets. One driver left their kid in the back seat, never saw him again. Thing is, after Bobby Mack, after Deborah, after a dozen more, the legend of mile marker 212 started spreading, and the drivers out there, they started leaving things behind. Photos, notes, bottles of whiskey, like offerings to the road. But that booth still shows up, still taking tolls, still waiting for someone too tired to choose right. And the worst part, you won't know what you gave up until it's too late to get it back. Hell yeah, let's get deep into it. Buckle up, grab a drink. Part 5's gonna crawl under your skin and stay a while. There's a ghost story out of the bayous of Louisiana that the locals whisper after a few drinks, especially the old-timers with diesel in their veins. They call it the Sugar Line, a set of railroad tracks that ain't on any map running straight through abandoned cane fields, somewhere outside of St. Landry Parish. Tracks that appear and disappear with the fog, and the sound that comes with them? A train whistle that don't belong to any train made in the last 100 years, long and low like something mourning its own death. It was a foggy midnight when Hank Rollins, yeah, that Hank, found the Sugar Line. This was before Jenny ever showed up. Back when Hank was still doing long hauls from Shreveport to Houston, cutting through the back roads to shave time. He was riding solo, red-eyed and burnt from too many hours behind the wheel. Hadn't seen another headlight in over an hour. That's when he spotted the lights. Not truck lights, not car lights. Lanterns, hung low, swinging from crooked poles along a stretch of old road choked by vines and trees. He slowed down. Something about the place felt off, like the air was too still and the humidity had teeth. The asphalt turned to dirt, then gravel, then cobblestone. Of all damn things, that's when he saw 'em. Tracks, old iron rails cutting across the road, vanishing into thick sugarcane so tall it looked alive. And coming up the rails? A train, but not like any train Hank had ever seen. This one was wrong, too tall, too thin, painted in chipping gold and bone white, like a hearse dressed up for Mardi Gras. No conductor, no engine smoke, just cars upon cars of shadows behind fogged. Glass moving like they were underwater. He should have left, he knows that now, but back then. Curiosity gets a man killed just as easy as a bullet. He parked the rig, grabbed his flashlight, and stepped into the cane. The rustling started as soon as he did. Soft at first, like a breeze. Then more, deliberate, like something was moving. Just out of view. Following, Hank pushed forward anyway. Found the platform, a real damn train platform, with rotted benches, an old wooden sign that read Cane Hollow Depot, Estine, 1883, and someone standing at the far end. She was wearing a conductor's uniform, but her eyes were sewn shut, threaded black, stitched deep. She didn't speak, didn't move, just held out a silver puncher. the kind they used to stamp old train tickets, and at her feet, a pile of driver's licenses, dozens of them, all worn, some with blood, some with photos. Hank swore. He recognized. Then the train slowed. The doors creaked open, screaming like they'd been rusted shut for a century. Inside, rows of seats empty except one way in the back, where someone was waiting, a girl, soaked barefoot, hair hanging over her face. She smiled at Hank like she knew him, like she'd been waiting for him. He backed away. Didn't run, didn't dare, just stepped slow, flashlight shaking, heart jackhammering. The conductor didn't follow, the girl didn't move, but just before the doors closed, she raised her hand, showed him what she was holding, a tire iron, covered in dried blood. Same one Hank had lost years ago when that man tried to rob him outside of Baton Rouge. Same one he swore just vanished. The train screamed as it left, and when Hank turned around, the platform was gone, just cane and swamp and the faint smell of sulfur. He sprinted back to the truck, locked the cab, and drove. Didn't look back, didn't stop until he saw pavement again, didn't talk about it for a long, long time, but ever since that night. Every once in a while when the fog's thick, he'll see a light in the field, a swinging lantern, and sometimes late at night when he's nodding off behind the wheel, he hears that whistle. Long, low, mournful, calling him back. They say, the sugar line only appears to folks who are carrying something heavy, a guilt, a secret, a shadow they ain't dealt with, and the train. It don't just haul passengers, it hauls sins. You give it what it wants, and maybe it lets you go. Don't? Well, that's when the girl walks out the cane and she don't come alone. Hell yeah, let's keep the wheels turning. You ever been out in the Arizona desert after midnight? I mean really out there, where the stars look like pinholes punched through black velvet, and the heat from the day still rises off the pavement like ghosts? No cell towers, no streetlights, just miles of nothing. That's where Hank found himself on a run from Flagstaff to Yuma. Load of pressure valves in the back, dead quiet in the cab except for the CB crackling. And then came that voice, Breaker 19, Breaker 19. This is White Dog looking for a northbound ride. Y'all copy? Hank's grip tightened on the wheel. That name White Dog. That wasn't just some random trucker handle. That was the call sign of Roy Stanger, a desert hauler who got cooked alive in his rig back in '82 when his brakes locked on Deadman's. Pass, the whole trailer jackknifed and went up like a damn fireworks show. They never found his CB radio or his jawbone. So yeah, when Hank heard that voice, grainy, distant, like it was coming through 30 years of static, he didn't answer. At first, but the voice came back. Breaker 19, I see you riding, son. Don't make me chase you. Chilled him to the bone. He reached for the mic, didn't even know why. Something deeper than instinct. Like a hook was already in his gut. He keyed up. Go ahead, White Dog. The voice paused, then came back slow, calm, like oil spilling over gravel. 13 miles up, flashing light. Stop there. I need a ride. Hank looked at the odometer. 13 miles on the dot was a dead zone. No pull-offs, no truck stops, just dust and highway. He should have ignored it. Should have killed the CB and thrown it out the damn window. But that hook, already in too deep. 13 miles later, there it was. A single flashing hazard light. No car. Nobody. Just a tire rim spinning slow in the sand, and a boot old melted half buried. The same kind Roy Stanger used to wear. Hank pulled over. The wind hit him like a furnace, but there was no noise. No animals. No hum of power lines. Just the CB hissing low, and then click. The passenger door opened, on its own, slow creaking, like something was inviting itself in. The seat dipped. Cold air spilled in, even in the desert. And the smell burnt. Meat and scorched rubber. Hank didn't move, didn't speak, just stared straight ahead. The CB crackled again, only now it was inside the cab. You feel it yet? That weight on your back? He couldn't respond. Could barely breathe. His headlights caught movement ahead, a shape on the road. 13 figures, silhouetted in the heat shimmer, every one of them standing still, facing the truck. Faceless, charred, their hands raised like they were waiting to flag him down. Then they started walking, slow, steady, straight toward him. His fingers moved on their own, jamming the truck into gear. The rig roared like a beast waking up from a nightmare. He floored it. Tires screamed. The truck surged forward, slamming through the wall of heat and shadow. But there was no impact. They were gone. Gone like they'd never been there at all, until he looked in the mirror. 13 shadows in the trailer, pressed against the walls from the inside. And the worst part? They were laughing. Hank drove through the night, didn't stop until sunrise hit him like a slap in the face. By the time he rolled into Yuma, the shadows were gone. But his CB, still whispering. Breaker 19, still riding dirty. You ain't dropped the dead weight yet. You ask Hank today, he'll tell you. The desert remembers every man who dies on her roads, and if your sins match theirs, well, you just might. Pick up a passenger who don't plan on ever getting out. All right, my friend, buckle in, let's ride into the dark again. There's a little truck stop just off I-65 near Shepherdsville, Kentucky. Ain't on the map. No name on the sign. Just says food, gas, open, in faded red neon that buzzes like a hornet's nest. Hank only stopped there once. Once was more than enough. He'd been driving close to 18 hours. Eyes dry, nerves frayed, bladder screaming. So when he saw that neon glow cutting through the mist, he figured it was divine intervention. Place looked half abandoned. Only one other rig in the lot, a flatbed with no plates and all the windows. Blacked out. Inside the stop it was quiet. Too quiet. No radio. No fry grease smell. Just a half-asleep cashier staring into the void behind the counter like he forgot what life felt like. Hank nodded to him. Got no nod back. Walked to the men's room. Door said out of order, but it wasn't locked. He opened it anyway. Inside, cleanest rest stop bathroom he'd ever seen. White tiles. Silver fixtures. Not a smudge or speck of grime. He went to the urinal, started taking care of business, but halfway through, he caught movement out the corner of his eye, looked up at the mirror, and froze. The mirror showed the bathroom behind him. Stall door shut, but he hadn't heard anyone come in. Then the stall door creaked open, slow and easy. In the reflection, a man stepped out, same height as Hank, same build, wearing the same flannel shirt. But his face was wrong, not disfigured. Not scary, just off, like someone trying real hard to wear Hank's face like a mask. The eyes were too wide, smile too fixed. The jaw moved like a puppet on rusted wires. Hank spun around. The stall was empty, turned back to the mirror. The man was still there, staring, smiling, mouth moving. But there was no sound, until he pressed a hand against the glass from inside. Fingers, spread wide, palm flat. Then the glass started to ripple. Hank bolted, didn't wash his hands. Didn't even zip up right. He stumbled into the main aisle, breath coming fast, heart slamming against his ribs like a jailbird begging to be let out. The cashier was gone. No truck in the lot now. Just Hank's, and a new rig parked right behind it. Identical to his own. Same make. Same color, same mud-streaked tag. He got into his cab, started the engine, and refused to look in the mirrors the whole drive out. Didn't stop until Nashville. Didn't sleep until Memphis. Weeks later, he was in a diner, swapping stories with another old hauler. Told him about the rest stop, the mirror, the double. Old-timer stopped chewing mid-bite, said, "Bay 4, huh?" Hank blinked. "How'd you—" The man leaned in, whispered like it was church secrets. "That stop ain't got a Bay 4. He never found it again, tried a few times. No exit, no sign, no neon buzz, just blank road where that place used to be. But every so often, when he's checking, his mirror's late at night. He swears he sees that face, smiling, waiting, like it's still trying to climb through. Hell yeah, let's keep the headlights on and roll deeper into the weird." 8. Trailer 44. There's a rest area just past mile marker 237 on I-70. Ain't much to it, just some busted vending machines, flickering street lamps and toilets that sound like they're coughing up something alive. Truckers don't like to stop there. Hank didn't either. But this night, he didn't have a choice. Storm had rolled in hard and sudden like the sky was, angry with the ground. Rain so thick it looked like the road was drowning. Lightning spiderwebbed the clouds every few seconds, painting the world white and blue and full of ghosts. He pulled into the rest area just to wait it out. Figured he'd sit in the cab, kill the engine, maybe catch a nap. But then he saw it, a trailer, just a trailer, no cab, no driver. just sitting there, dead center in the lot like it had been dropped by some giant hand, number spray painted on the back in blood red. Fortit. He got out. Something about it pulled at him, like an itch in the back of his brain. Rain. Slapped his shoulders like angry hands. Thunder rolled, but he walked right up to it. Door was padlocked, heavy duty, but the metal was warped. Like something inside had pushed hard from the other side. There were scratches too, not claw marks exactly, more like fingernails, lots of them, scratched into the paint, into the steel. Help. Let me out. Don't listen to it. That one made Hank stop cold. He stepped back, hands slick with rain and nerves, just as he did. The trailer shuddered. Once, like something had shifted inside, he froze. Then a noise came through the walls, soft at first, muffled, like someone whispering. Through a pillow, then louder. A voice high, female, please. Please don't leave me in here, it's cold, it's dark. Hank's heart went sideways. He backed away, looked around, empty lot. Just him and trailer 44. Then came the knock, from inside. 4 sharp bangs, like knuckles on metal, then silence. Then, again, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Hank stepped forward without thinking, hands on the lock, rain pounding down like war drums. But just as he was about to try and force it open, the voice changed. Hank, just that, his name, whispered like a lover in his ear. He dropped the lock like it burned him, stumbled back. No one knew he was here. Hell, nothing should know his name. But that voice, it knew him, knew things. It began to whisper again, not just one voice now, a chorus, dozens of them, all overlapping, male, female, young, old, calling out, come see me. We remember you. We see you. You left us behind. He turned and ran, didn't stop until the lot disappeared behind him, swallowed by the dark and the storm. Didn't stop driving for 3 hours straight. No radio, no mirrors. And he never looked in the rear view. Weeks later, he met a girl at a way station who asked him, you ever see Trailer 44? He damn near dropped his coffee. She nodded real slow and said, it doesn't always knock, sometimes it screams. Nobody knows who first saw it. Nobody knows what's inside. But if you ever see it parked alone, just keep driving. Whatever's inside Trailer 44, it's not trapped, it's waiting. Final part. Dead end. Hank Rollins didn't sleep much anymore. Not after Trailer 44. Not after the phone calls from numbers that didn't exist. Not after waking up with muddy footprints on the inside of his windshield. He drove days straight, ate beef jerky, drank coffee thick enough to dissolve spoons, and talked to no one unless he had to. But in his mind, the whisper never stopped. Inak, you too. Saw me. You left me. The girl in the ditch. The one with the soaked white dress, the broken neck, the bleeding eyes, the one who screamed without moving her lips. He could feel her, even when he was awake, like she was standing behind him, just out of reach, waiting, watching. It all circled back to one thing. Mile marker 212. Only, it didn't exist on any map. He'd looked, scoured state databases, even old printed Doty records. Mile marker 211 jumped. Straight to 213, but he knew what he saw, so he went back. One last time. It was a foggy night. Air so thick you could chew it. No radio, no GPS. Just memory and madness to guide him. He found it. Mile marker 212. A rusted green sign rising out of the mist like a gravestone. He pulled the rig to the shoulder and cut the engine. Silence. Then footsteps. Soft, wet. She was waiting for him, standing in the same ditch, head cocked at a broken angle. Only now. She smiled. You came back. Her voice was clear now. Not in his head. In the air. Real. I had to, Hank said. You ain't lettin'. Me go, are you? She didn't answer. Just started walking up the embankment toward him. Her feet didn't touch the ground. That's when he saw them. All around her, dozens of them. Figures, men, women, children, all with glassy eyes and twisted limbs. All of them dead. All of them watching. Him. He tried to run, truck keys in hand, heart thundering. But the fog had changed. It was thick, heavy, alive. He slammed the cab door and tried the ignition. Dead. Battery. Fine. Fuel-full engine, just dead then. Knock, knock, knock. He turned. She was outside the driver's side window, smiling. "You didn't save us." The door unlocked itself, swung open on its own, and Hank... He didn't fight. He stepped down, faced them. He was a stubborn bastard. But he wasn't stupid. Something had pulled him here, and now he knew why. He'd been running from something for years. That stretch of road where a kid darted out into the dark and he hit the brakes too late. That night in '93, when he saw a van flipped in the ditch and kept going, telling himself he'd call it in later. All those times he ignored the voice in his gut. Every ghost in the fog was a choice he'd made, a moment he could have helped. But didn't. They circled him. Not angry, not vengeful, just sad, disappointed. She reached out a hand, white, cracked, trembling. He took it, and the fog swallowed them whole. They found his truck a week later, engine cold, headlights still on. Doors, locked empty, not a trace of Hank Rollins. Just a logbook in the seat with 3 words scrawled across the last page. "I saw her." Sometimes when the fog rolls in across I-70 and the road gets too quiet, you'll see a lone rig parked on the shoulder by mile marker 212. If you stop, you might hear footsteps in the grass or a knock on your window. And if a girl in a white dress asks you for a ride, you best keep driving, because once you see her, she never lets you forget.